I am, and the recording has started.
Hey, folks, gaveled in. My name is Rick Fernandez. I'm chair of the TPO CAC. Welcome everyone to the February 5, 2025 meeting of the Citizens Advisory Committee. Our first order of business at every meeting is to go around the table and have everyone introduce themselves and their appointing authority. So keeping with that tradition, I'll start off. Rick Fernandez, I'm the Hispanic at-large representative.
I'm Stephen Hollenkamp with the City of Plant City. I missed the last meeting, so I'll just say now thanks for filling me in to be vice chair. I won't believe 30 minutes today, so I'll say goodbye because I'm falling at it. But yeah, appointed by the City of Plant City. Thanks.
Dana Lazarus, City Councilman, Tampa City Councilman, liquor tax appointee.
Chris Gonzalez, Hispanic representative.
Joseph Citro, Commissioner Harry Cohen.
Clifford Reese at large.
Michael Clark, Planning Commission.
Via Adams at large.
Justin Johnson at large.
Ed Majewski, appointed by the Expressway Authority.
Hey, appointed by the City of Temple Terrace.
And Sarah Caper.
There, ESP liaison.
Okay, thank you all very much. Gail, if you would do the honors, please take the roll. Oh, wait a minute. We have, do we have folks online? Sorry.
Yes, we do.
Okay.
You have
Yeah,
you have several people online, yes.
Okay, well, several people, identify yourselves in whatever order, please.
Artie Fryer, representing the Transportation Disadvantage Coordinating Board.
Anyone else?
Bill Roberts, lame duck representing the Aviation Authority.
Oh, come on, you still got wings.
Rick, you're older. Stephen, you're the other.
Stephen Jones at large, Apollo Beach.
Stephen Jones, was it?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, Stephen Jones.
The others are staff members.
Okay, all right. Gail, I go back to where I was. If you please do the honors, call the roll for call the quorum, please.
Yes, sir. Rick Fernandez,
Here.
Steve Hollenkamp,
Here.
Dana Lazarus,
Here.
Jim Davison is excused, Carolyn Brown, Joseph Citro,
Here.
Christina Costa is excused, Matt Sink, Aya Yassin,
Here.
Bill Roberts,
Here virtually.
Don Skelton, Ed Majewski,
Here.
Artie Fryer,
Here, Bert.
Linda Eubanks, Michael Carter,
Here.
a couple people just popped in. Hang on one second. Chris Vella,
Here.
Chris Gonzalez,
Here.
Dustin Johnson,
Here.
Ivia Adams,
Here.
Stephen Paul Jones,
Here.
Carmayata Alexander, Clifford Reese.
Here.
And we do have an in-person quorum.
On my count, you have 11 in the room. Is that consistent with your count?
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much. That brings us to public comment. Do you have anyone in the room? Public comment. Oh, anyone online?
Anyone online? No public comment.
Chair's report. Again, I thank Sarah for preparing the draft of this. I had to borrow from it without any shame whatsoever. So I'll read through the parts that we said I highlighted. First of all, we haven't, I guess, officially lost, but our Port Authority representative, Don Skelton, is, I guess, in the process of being replaced by the port. We have been told that they are in search of. So hopefully we'll have a new candidate identified, and at the rate we usually process these things, it'll probably take at least a month, maybe 2 months before anybody is actually at the table with us, get through board approval. So that search is ongoing. Hopefully we'll have an approved member soon from the board. On actions taken by the board regarding matters that were presented to us at the January meeting. The CAC voted to recommend the TPO board approve the 2025 safety performance targets as presented. You may remember Department McDonald made that presentation to us. The TPO board followed suit and approved those safety performance targets. While we didn't take action on this item, we did address the question during our meeting of the makeup of the CAC. The TPO board received a CAC membership update and approved accepting the update and directing outreach efforts to recruit candidates that meet specific demographic and geographic needs on the CAC. Okay, have a couple of, I'll call them housekeeping items. Those of you who were there at the December joint meeting of the PAC and the CAC, Technical Advisory Committee and Citizens Advisory Committee in December, you may recall a question was posed to staff regarding the process by which the Planning Commission goes about sending a representative of the TPO board and how that representative from the Planning Commission is enabled to vote on certain issues. That question was actually posed by me. And it was posed because after I did some inquiry following the TIP review in June and the LRTP review in October, I had some concerns regarding the votes that were cast by Planning Commission and by the school board. Concerns as president of the Tampa Heights Civic Association, as a resident of that community, not anything related to my chairmanship here. What I learned was that, and what has been confirmed now through Melissa Zernita, is that and I'll be specific to the Planning Commission, when the Planning Commission selects an individual to go to the TPO board as their representative, a voting representative, they do so without any direction regarding any specific items that will be presented to the TPO board. There's no accountability as such between the representative, in this case, the chair of the Planning Commission, who sits as the Planning Commission representative on the TPO board. There's no real accountability or reporting that goes back and forth between that representative and the Planning Commission. The concern I had was a vote that was taken regarding the expansion of Interstate 275 north of Hillsborough to Beers, and the fact that Planning Commission had never had a discussion about that at all, and the representative cast a vote basically based on that representative's personal opinion on the project. I felt that was problematic. I asked staff to inquire as to how it all went down, and that's what I was told. That's what was confirmed in an email by Melissa Zernita. Now, that email was part of our package at the last meeting. I think under old and new business or unfinished business. I didn't raise it at that time. Frankly, I didn't even see it in the agenda package, but it is there if anybody has an interest in reviewing it in more detail. It's a memo dated December 30, 2024. Melissa Zernita to Sarah Caper and Johnny Vaughn. I guess that's really all I have to say about that. Any questions about that? None in the room. Anybody online?
Nothing online. Yeah, we'll have mine.
Okay. Also, as you probably know, if you've had an opportunity to go through your agenda package, one of the items before us tonight, what will be also before the TPO board next week, is long-range transportation plan amendments that are being proposed. I asked the question of staff if the review by the TPO board would be limited only to those items that were specifically noticed as proposed amendments, or if in fact individuals or the board would be able to raise other issues writ large on the LRTP. I was advised, this quote from the memo I received from staff, LRTP is open for changes at the public hearing. Board members are able to suggest and take action on things beyond those included in the agenda materials. Long story short, if there are any items on the LRTP other than those that are noticed and that we'll be hearing about today that you have any concerns about, or that you would like to have some motions addressed to them, just know that we can do that here today and make recommendations, and they could also, those recommendations can also be presented to the board next week. I think that's it for that. There's been a change at the school board level. School board member Patty Rendon was the representative of the Hillsborough County School Board on the TPO board for the last several meetings. First time I remember seeing her was in June. She may have been there before 2024. She's now been replaced by Lynn Gray, who's the District 7 countywide school board member. She'll be sitting on the TPO board for the first time, I guess, next week, assuming she's available. In any event, she has now been appointed by the school board. She has reached out to me and has indicated an interest in sitting in on at least part of this meeting. I expect that she will be dropping in on us virtually sometime around 6:30. If we see her up on the screen, I'll take a moment to introduce her, at least acknowledge her presence. And if she has anything she wants to say to us, in a bit of the order, I'll give her an opportunity to do that. So again, that's Lynn Gray of the school board. And as a collateral matter to that, since there has been a change in school board representation, the school board representative that sat on the CAC has now been relieved of that duty. That individual can certainly reapply to come back at large or to another appointing authority. Lynn Gray will be appointing someone, perhaps the same individual, I don't know. But Lynn Gray now is in a position to appoint someone under her umbrella to the CAC. So that will likely evolve over the next couple of months. Any questions on all of that? In the room or otherwise?
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
It's sort of related to that, but not really. For the chair and vice chair of the TPO, those positions, how long do those people stay in those positions? Is it 2 years now? So they
I think they're one-year terms, aren't they?
I believe they're 1 year terms, elected officers.
The election officer.
One-year terms, but there are limits, so.
Right. There are term limits, but they revisit them every year.
Yeah, Glenn Myers was termed out.
Okay.
Andy Ross took over. And then he'll go through that process again, just like we did here. He'll go through that process next year as well. And Josh Wassel is the vice chair, in case any of you missed that memo. All right. That finishes out the chair report minutes. Your agenda package have a 5-page document, I believe it was, 5-page document, the January 6th, 2025 CAC minutes. It's a hybrid meeting. Hopefully you've had an opportunity to review. Is there a motion to approve the minutes? I've seen, moves to approve. Is there a second?
I second.
And Dustin Johnson. I will eventually get this, Dustin. Dustin Johnson, second. Yes, ma'am. Mia, you have a question?
My name's spelled wrong in the,
Sorry, we'll fix that.
yeah, I didn't know if you had to be correct before you approved it.
Oh, it's misspelled on the.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay, we have a motion to approve.
I'm sorry,
as
excuse me, Chair, whose name was spelled incorrectly?
Idea Adam.
Thank you.
We have a motion to approve the minutes of January 6, 2025, and a second. Is there any further discussion on the minutes? On the motion? Any discussion online?
Anyone online? No.
Right? If not, then I'll ask for a vote by acclamation. All in favor of approval of the minutes, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, please indicate by saying nay. Please note that as unanimous approval of the January 6, 2025 minutes. That takes us to action items. Roman numeral 7 on our agenda packet, tip amendments. Elizabeth Watkins, there you are.
Hello.
Dr. Magic, welcome.
Good evening, TAC, Elizabeth Watkins, TPO staff. I have 2 amendments for you today.
You did notice earlier that it was taking a couple seconds to share the screen. So it's just a little slow today.
All right. So there are 2 tip amendments before you today. And just as a reminder, the Transportation Improvement Program is a federally required document that lists all the federally funded and regionally significant transportation projects in Hillsborough County. So the 2 projects are both intersection improvements, one at State Route 39 at Trapnell Road near Plant City, and then one project in South County, State Route 674 or Sun City Center at east of 27th Street Southeast. So the first project is the intersection improvement in Plant City. This will reconstruct the interstate, the intersection with concrete instead of asphalt. There'll be some lighting improvements as well as some signal upgrades such as cabinet box upgrades, traffic signal upgrades, pedestrian detectors. And this project is expected to go to construction in fall of 2025. This is an example of that rigid pavement that DOT is using. It is slightly more expensive to use concrete in an intersection as opposed to asphalt, but there are a lot of benefits to doing so, such as not as often have to repave or maintain it, which also results in less disruption to the public. And it also has some resiliency impacts too for heavy rains and that sort of thing. So there are many reasons why DOT would choose to use this treatment at this intersection. So what is actually changing to the Transportation Improvement Program? Well, this project is already in there, but about $2 million are being added, largely due to the increase, to the addition of adding lighting and some signal upgrades, as well as the cost increases that we're seeing industry-wide. So $2 million is being added to this project so that it can go to construction later this fall. The second project is right in front of the new Moffett development that is open in South County at Ruskin. So this project will do the design work for a new traffic signal, crosswalk improvements, and lighting. And so design will be done in 2025, and then construction is set to begin in 2026. And what's changing in the TIP is this project is being added in. It wasn't currently in the TIP, but it's being added in so that they can use these funds and get design underway. And the recommended action of the CAC is to recommend that the TPO board approve these amendments to the Transportation Improvement Program. I'd be happy to answer any questions or take your comments.
Right, in the room, there are questions for Elizabeth. I see Dana's hand up. I see Aya's hand up. Dana, go for it.
So the intersection improvement, the first one, that's $11 million, right? As a total. So I think it would be good for these kinds of presentations to show us the amount that we're looking at. I mean, that's really tiny. But I appreciate the graph, but it would be good to like really show us what the dollars that we're approving here. My question is, why why is this scheduled for now? Like, is there some damage to the existing asphalt? I was looking at it, on Google Maps and it looks beautiful, like, it looks like a fine intersection. So I'm wondering what the data is that is telling us that we need to do this $11 million project, with its FDOT funds, right? So it's probably state and federal funds.
Yes, they are state and federal funds. It appears that preliminary engineering happened earlier, so this project has most likely been in the works for a while. And when I was talking to the project manager, when or how they decide to use the rigid concrete at this intersection, it's usually because of the existing pavement performance. So they look at running, they look at cracking, all those sorts of things, as well as truck traffic. So this is US 30. This is State Route 39, which is a truck corridor. So that's also another factor that goes into DOT's thought process and when they're going to be upgrading intersections and when they would apply this certain type. So,
Yeah, I think for these kinds of presentations, we should be able to see like what's actually wrong with that intersection. So we're just being asked to like write a blank check basically. Or not a blank check, an $11 million check for something without being shown why it's needed.
so would you want to see like the purpose and need behind the project?
Yes.
Okay.
And maybe like with photographs, data, like maybe
Yeah.
there's too much traffic there, maybe there's been a lot of accidents or crashes there. That was another question I had, if there been a lot of crashes at this intersection, is that why it needs to be done?
Yeah, well, this project has been in the works for a while. This amendment is really just because of the cost overruns and the adding of the scope. So these are all great questions. I can loop back with the project manager and get with Sarah on, what was that purpose and need? And just some more data of where the origin of this project, but it is very much on the end of the project delivery process.
Thank you.
Anybody else on the left side of the room? Right side of the room, Aya?
Thank you, Elizabeth, for the presentation. I just want to also say, like, sometimes the construction costs are more because once they do the design, they realize they need more material, different types of materials, the cost of material, and the increase in cost of materials have also makes it more expensive as a project per person. So if it was programmed 5 years ago, so it makes sense that, like, if you're doing home construction, things are more expensive. So it makes sense that they're increasing. But I wanted to ask a question about the second project. And why is this one added? Like that one, how did this one become a priority to be added to the tip now? Because now you're adding design money in this, so this is a new project.
Yes, it's a new project, and so when you look on this tip sheet, you can see you want to take this? Okay. Yeah. Hi, Suzanne Ziegler, Government Liaison Manager.
Sorry, I can't hear.
Suzanne Ziegler, Government Liaison Manager for FDOT. So the second project is actually a federal earmark that was given to the state in order to move forward to make the accommodations to the roadway there in front of Moffett. So it's directly impacted the earmark, so it's state money that was given to us.
So not federal. So not federal. It's a state earmark.
Yes.
Dustin?
So I got questions, actually got a statement here. Is one, I can say I actually lived through the whole 301 Bloomingdale upgrade. And I can guarantee the reason why it's so cost is because that concrete is almost 12 inches thick, rebar, reinforced. And they're doing these for truck traffic coming through there, the heavy truck traffic. Because 301, they did it at 301, they did it down at Big Bend and 41. And so when you have a lot of truck traffic, I mean, they're tearing up the roads all over where I live at in South Hillsborough County. Now, a question I have regarding the second one is you said that state funds. What I'd like to know is because the whole reason why we're doing this because Moffett went in there. All right. How come, I guess my question is Moffett providing any sort of funding for this project? Because to me, it's frustrating where we have multiple issues in South Hillsborough County And all I've ever been told is, well, the developers are supposed to fund this piece. The developers are supposed to fund that piece. Yeah, we know the developers don't give any money whatsoever until the last moment when it's forced upon them. So to me, it's frustrating to see that, not that I'm against Moffett, but it's like, the rich man all of a sudden gets everything they want and the poor man suffers through everything else. It just so happens that Moffett decided to go in here and all of a sudden this funds drop out of nowhere. So help the community out to understand that our taxpayer money is going to help an entity. What are they doing? Because they're gonna reap the rewards of this no matter what.
Project might can talk about like mobility. Correct. Yeah. So Suzanne Ziegler again at DOT. I can't speak to what Moffett is paying for. I can reach out to our project manager on this one to see if we might have some information, but I'm not sure if they were required as a developer to build sidewalks and crosswalks and we're doing this intersection. I'm not exactly sure. I get your frustration. So this was not a project that was on our radar. It was not on the TPO's radar either. However, what happens with the appropriations is that it's either legislative or they're hard to explain. So the legislation, people put appropriations in. It could be,
Okay.
Mayor Castor could put one in. I'm just saying off the top of my head. Or someone else, and they want to see money allocated to a specific project. And then it goes through the legislation. And so the governor can line item veto it. So when that happens, to come up with this, sometimes we have to X out a project on our books to make sure that our state money, this money gets allocated to this project. So we don't have much control over that, but again, I'm happy to reach out to the project manager, see what we can find out.
It'd be nice to know, because basically what you're telling me is now we need to take a citizens initiative to go after, or not go after, but basically citizens initiative to say to our elected officials, we're not happy with this, in essence.
Yeah, because I mean, we have to do what the legislation
I
says.
understand that.
So, but I get what your frustration is that of where I live as well, the same thing has happened. So, but I'll reach out to the project manager and I'll get the information to Sarah and I'll let you know. And I'll just add one other thing. So this site, and I can go back to like development services, they are required to pay impact fees or mobility fees. So Moffett did pay for something or deliver something in kind. I just don't have that information at my disposal right now, but we'll certainly look into it and pass it on to Sarah.
Can I make a recommendation for
Please.
more projects like this in the future?
Yeah.
Have that information, because it helps to justify, okay, I see, we're spending $500,000, but they also gave $500,000 and makes sense. See what I'm saying? From a citizen's aspect, when I see this, like, oh.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
I
Okay.
hear you loud and clear. It is, I also do want to continue to kind of explain what the tip can do and what it cannot do. Like these funds are already appropriated to this project, but I hear you loud and clear, like getting to how this project got identified, how is it also, if it's a private thing, how else is it contributing to the infrastructure? Just want to be really clear about what the action of approving this tip amendment does.
I understand.
Hey,
Thank you.
Yeah, I would like to request that maybe for situations like this, or maybe for next time, we would like to see what the appropriation language in the earmark really says, because sometimes the language in the earmark is different than what this project is. And so we'd like to see how that is, and also the local or the private funds that would be the match for this earmark.
So there are no private funds. This is all.
So Moffett is not paying.
For this particular project, no. They likely, not likely, I know they paid impact fees, mobility fees. Maybe they did something else through like Hillsborough County's development process. But for this project that DOT is implementing, Moffett wouldn't have paid for that.
Okay, so I have a question for,
Okay.
can we, if I would like to make a motion, can I make a motion to approve one and not approve the second, the other one?
When it comes time for motions, you can move whatever you want,
Or have it be like together?
No.
Together.
do whatever you want.
Okay.
If it gets a second, it has air. Dana?
Can we also ask who requested the project be earmarked? Is that can we identify that party?
Yeah, actually, I have it on my computer. I just didn't have that information with me. So the way the earmarks process works, it gets sponsored by a legislature, then it goes through the budget process, and then Governor DeSantis didn't line up to do it. So it went through. So I have the name of the representative who initiated the request. I just didn't get it.
That was a piggyback, but my question is, I noticed that there were bike lanes on State Road 39. So for the project itself, does that include any safety features for the bike lanes? It would be really cool to see maybe some kind of protective ballard, whatever those things are called, like bumps or something for the bike, just some kind of protection for the bikes, and then maybe the like bump outs for pedestrians as well, some kind of improvement for the bicyclists and pedestrians at that intersection.
I totally agree with you, but just wanted to be straightforward with where this project is in its development, like the design's already happened. So, but you know, maybe for the tip, when we talk about that later this summer, we can identify those projects that are in design right now. That would be like the perfect time to get that.
Yeah,
Just one quick thing, was there any,
Stephen Hollenkamp, I'll recognize.
was this funded by state and federal money, or was there any Plant City money, county money?
I think it's just state and federal. Yeah, just state and federal.
Wait, which, the plan?
Yeah, for both of them.
Oh, yeah, so for, this is the tip page for the State Route 39 at Tracknell. That's the one in Plant City. That is all state and federal funds. And then the design for the project in South County at the Moffett, that is a federal earmark and state funds. So yeah, federal and state.
It's a federal earmark, not a state earmark.
It's a federal.
It's a state earmark.
Well, she
Oh,
just
I'm
said
sorry.
it.
It's been a long
Okay, so
time.
it's
It's
a
state.
fund. So the
It's a
second
state
one
earmark.
is Amy's fund,
Okay.
state earmark. First one has mix of state and federal funds on it.
Yeah, I think I saw more hands in the room. Leah?
I have a question. So essentially, we're approving nothing. It's already pretty much done, like design, and so are we really approving anything since it's earmarked for that? So if we say no and go to the tip and they don't, what happens?
So let's say the TQ board doesn't approve this amendment, which is possible, but probably unlikely because that money is there. It's been appropriated by the legislature. That would basically tell DOT you shouldn't do the project, but it's not like there's money that the TPO is actually approving. It's all through FDOT's coffers and that sort of thing. So,
if they tell them no, but they're still gonna do it, right?
well, no. You don't really want to be in that situation. Like, that's hopefully why we would have good communication throughout. But these dollars have been appropriated for this project. It's in DOT's work program to do the design. There certainly is an opportunity for the board and for the CAC to recommend not approving it, but I've worked at MPOs, actually, it's not something that happens very often.
Other questions in the room? Chris?
For the first project, what are the pedestrian improvements?
I believe those are due to, or for the pedestrian signal, so make sure there's a leading pedestrian interval, crosswalks, some pavement. There's no, I asked the question if there was any like bollards or bulb outs or things like that. There's nothing hard, but it's striping and signal improvements for pedestrians.
Other, let me finish with Q&A first, if I might. Let's make sure there aren't any other questions in the room. Anybody online?
Steve, you had your hand raised for a while.
Yeah, thank you. I was just going to agree basically with what's already been said about the Ruskin Moffett Center. And I was just wondering, pretty much what's already been said is there's a lot of places in South County that could use a stoplight. One near my home is it a good example, the intersection of Highway 41 and Miller Mac, all due to explosive construction down here in the last few years. So yeah, I was just wondering how Moffett got in there so quickly and the expected traffic counts, and maybe do a study or something like that to determine what other areas in South County could use a stoplight. But that was really it. I basically am agreeing with how Moffett got in there. I was and wanted to know what I could do basically to focus on other areas in South County.
Okay,
That's
Stephen, I don't know if the issue is with you or with us, but the volume on this end is really weak. It was very hard to hear you. I was able to make it out, but it was tough. If you have an opportunity to speak at the meeting again, you might want to either get a little closer to your mic or adjust your volume at your end if you can. I see Sarah waving a remote control at the wall. Is there something you're doing?
I'm trying to make it louder. Oh. I'm
okay.
trying
Can you hear
to-
me now?
You're
Is that any
far.
better?
You sound really far.
Okay.
Are you within
I'm gonna have
arm's reach of your mic?
Yeah, and let me see if I can adjust. How's this? Is this any better?
No.
Not really. Okay, well, if you speak again, you might just want to keep your volume up a little bit. I mean, project your voice a little better. Just know we have an issue here. I don't know if we have it with anyone else or not, but, you know, you drew the short straw on that one. Anybody else online with a question, comment?
I see no other online.
Okay, I have a question. There are federal funds in this mix somewhere.
On the first project of the one in Plant City.
Okay, are freezes in any way in effect for any of those funds? Every time I turn on TV, there's some federal funding that's being frozen for something. So is that an issue here at all?
My understanding about it, Suzanne, is that the formula highway funds that are directly allocated to DOT annually have not been affected by the pause, but
Nancy Ziegler of DT. We have been told business as usual that until we're told otherwise, that nothing is really frozen on our end. We're waiting for guidance if that's gonna happen moving forward, but we haven't been told anything is not gonna be reimbursable at this time. When it does, if it does, then we will reach out to Elizabeth and the team and let them know what's going on, once we have guidance.
Very interesting. All right, okay, we have the recommended action here. Recommend the TPO board approve the amendments to the FY 25-29 Transportation Improvement Program. Is there an enabling motion or another motion to be made at this point? I'll recognize AIC.
I have a motion to approve the first project, State Road 39 at Trap Mill Road, and defer the second project, State Road 674, until next meeting, until when we get more information about the earmark and what the real scope of the earmark.
There a second to that motion?
I second that motion.
All right, Dustin Johnson seconds the motion. Is there discussion on the motion? Ed Majewski.
You know, earmarks are a fact of life. People in the legislature, federal and state, part of passing any budget resolution is getting their local favorite projects. And it seems really, really unlikely that when a state legislator has written an earmark in, that the TPO is gonna say no. I mean, I just seems unrealistic to me. I mean, earmarks are a fact of life, and you just need to accept them.
Any comments on the motion? Dana?
Someone tell us what an earmark actually is, because does that mean that the money is there for this specific project, which is typically the problem with transportation things that we want? It's like, where's the money gonna come from? Who's gonna do it? And in this situation, it's like someone just like brings it through.
that's with the laws written, that money could be added to any other project. It has to be for that project at that intersection in front of the South County Moffitt Center.
Justin?
I mean, I understand earmarks and all that, but my thing is that this now comes down to our elected officials not really hearing what the local populace who voted those people into office need. Okay, not saying that I'm totally against Moffitt, like I said before. It seems kind of odd that all of a sudden there's all these needs in South Hillsborough County. You also heard from a counterpart who, lives in an area where, probably needs a signal there too. And all of a sudden, you get this thing in there and it's just like, wow, we're spending $500,000. I mean, it's just, hey, why can't we see some other money go to areas there? Because in this section, in front of the community I live in, there's probably an accident almost every single day. So that's all I have to say on that.
Further discussion on the motion. Hey, yeah,
The reason I made this motion this way is because I'm not opposing the second one. I just feel like I need more information. Because I've seen previous earmarks and the scope is super vague. That basically they can do whatever they want and they can decide whatever scope is. So I think it is important as the citizen advisory committee to understand what the scope really entails. And does it include the elements that we agree with in terms of this intersection improvement or not? Is it gonna be for only benefiting Moffett or is it gonna be benefiting the whole community? So understanding what DOT and what the earmark really specified the scope of this intersection improvement and earmark to do. This is what I would like to do. So I'm not against it. I just want to defer it so that until we get more information.
okay, further discussion on the motion, Cliff Reese.
One more point. I agree with everything that's been said about how this is developed. When I'm at Moffett next Wednesday, I'm going to actually ask what went into that development, how much did they spend? You know, and what, you know, the scope of the project, what kind of money went in. Because in the long run, it does benefit the community. You're saving people a 50-mile drive within the Sun City, Wamama area to get up to the Moffett facility right now. So there is a large community benefit and that state road is fairly busy. It's a worthwhile project. But I'm going to ask the question, how much did they invest? And, you know, it may make sense in the context of, okay, the county is putting up X dollars to match $100 million or whatever their construction budget was.
Other comments in the room on the motion? Any comments online?
Anyone raise your hand?
Just a couple of real quick comments. Frankly, I heard a lot of really good questions coming from this committee, and I didn't hear a lot of really good answers. Now, that's not a dig on you. But, well, this is not unique to this presentation, this day, this month, this year. It is not unusual for us to get presentations from various agencies where we don't have all of the information. And a lot of the time we get answers from the podium that sound very much like what you just said. In good faith, I don't know, I'll get back to you. I'm not feeling real warm and fuzzy about I don't know and get back to you anymore. I'm just not. We're being asked to put our imprimatur on a piece of road work that costs millions of dollars. And I have to be able to explain that to somebody that asks me a question of why. I have no idea why I would say yes to this right now, right? And that's just me. So to be perfectly honest, I was not going to vote to approve either one of these two. When the motion was made, I was going to vote no. As it is, I'll support the motion as it's made, but that's my concern. I just think generally we get rather short shrift on the information that's provided to us, and then we're being asked to just check off a box because that's what we're here for, to check off the box. Now you can say you came to the CAC and you can move on. And that's getting old, right? And again, not a dig on you. It's just the way business seems to be done around here, and it's been that way for a long time, in my impression of it. Other comments? Yes, sir.
Feedback like this, and I'm sure Elizabeth really helps us tailor our presentations towards what you're looking for. So the more we hear from you about what you're looking for, I heard some examples today, you want to hear like features, you want to hear about the data. That helps us provide you with the presentations you're looking for. So as you think of things like that you'd like to see, whether it's during the meeting or between meetings, you can plan for the office hours with me and share them. You can email me, you can share them here live. But the more you tell us what you're looking for, that helps us provide you with the best information known.
Hey,
Can I just add, I can give you a list of what we should, and that's my perspective. We need to see the scope, we need to see the tip before and after. So like highlight what is added or what's changed. We need to see if it's, which ones are federal, which one is state funds, but because the codes here are not very clear, like DIH and SA, no one really knows which one is federal, which one is state. I mean, I happen to know, but you know, a lot of people don't know the difference. The second, and then of course, we want to know, the scope and the phase that the funds, I know you might have shown the phase that the money is gonna be added to the year. And if it's in construction, then we want to see what level of plans is the design in, like how far is it in, and the detail, by the construction, we actually, you guys have drawings already for design, so we can see at least a physical section, what are the main improvements in the plans are going to be. And if it's design, then you want to know at least general, and their understanding of what it's going to be. I think that would give a comprehensive understanding of what exactly we're approving, for its different.
Can you remind me what was the amount of the Moffett project and what's the description of it?
The amount is about $500,000 for design.
Okay.
And it will be for designing the traffic signals, pedestrian crosswalks, lighting. So those are some of the components that we are design.
Any other questions or comments in the room on the motion? One last shot online. Steve Jones.
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Well, just yell at us, Stephen.
Okay, so yeah, I was just concerned about the justification for the Moffett Center in terms of traffic counts. And I was just, because I didn't hear anything about, you know, the number of cars or trucks expected. What is the expected traffic count for that area to justify a stoplight when there's lots of other high traffic areas in South County that are being ignored? That's it.
I don't have traffic count data. I will be prepared with that next time. But again, with the appropriations, that's what's going to go to this project. DOT does have the signal warrant process, so it is generally it is very much a data-driven process to determine where transportation improvements go.
I don't see, oh, well.
So sorry. Just to be sure to add to Aya's list of things that we would like to see is in that justification or the need for the new appropriation of funds or whatever, even if it's that the fact that construction went up. I don't remember this project in the tip like ever being brought to us, but so adding traffic counts, crash data, maintenance and repair need, and then also specific bike head improvements. I just think that's something that we're gonna be asking for consistently. So for every single project, if they're like, every project should include some kind of bike head thing unless it's a highway, I guess. Just always include like what those are.
Okay. All right, ready to bring this discussion in for a landing. Hey, would you be kind enough, please, to restate your motion for the record?
Motion to approve, tip amendments for State Road 39 at Troutnell Road, to add $2 million and defer, tip amendment for State Road 674, at east of 27th Street, southeast intersection improvement until further, information on about the earmark and the amendment, requested.
Okay. Right. Motion has been seconded. Gail, would you be kind enough, please, to call the roll for yeas and nays?
Rick Fernandez,
Yay, yes.
Stephen Hollenkamp,
Yes.
Dana Lazarus,
No.
Joseph Citro,
Yes.
Aya Yassin,
Yes.
Ed Mrzewski.
No.
I'm sorry, what was that?
No.
Thank you. Linda Eubanks.
It's not here.
Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you. Michael Carter,
Yes.
Chris Gonzalez,
Yes.
Justin Johnson,
Yes.
Ivia Adams,
Yes.
Clifford Reese.
No,
The motion passes 8-3.
Thank you. Thank you.
I guess I apologize. I'm going the backwards way of doing this, but I have a question now, if you do not mind.
Oh.
In the whole grand scheme of things, the State Road 674 project, what we just did here, how much is that going to delay that project?
Honestly,
Yes.
it will depend on what action the TPO board takes next week.
To Ms. Jacin's point, more information we have will help us decide, make our decisions better. So by a 1 month delay on this, in the whole grand scheme of things, it's really not going to set the project back further, is it?
I know that we have a deadline given to us by DOT. And I know with the work program, it probably could have implications. I don't know that for sure. That's something that we can talk about. I'm just looking up.
Mr. Chair, I asked my question and I see your point, and I applaud you for doing that. The more information we have, the better, but I just want to make sure that anytime we do this type of thing, that it's not going to put construction back, which is going to make the cost rise. So thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Sure thing. All right. And bring that item in the agenda in for a landing now. We're moving to action item B. 2050 LRTP amendments. Wade Reynolds. Oh, sorry, Wade, before you start. Did our school board member
She didn't join.
sign in? No. Okay, Wade, go ahead. Sorry, who?
Stephen Jones, president.
Stephen, you have a question?
No, sorry, I just need to unraise my hand. Sorry about that.
Okey dokey. Wade?
Sir. I'm hoping you'll hear.
We spent a lot of time on time last time. I'm just gonna point out, if I could share, we're running about 5 minutes behind. Yes.
Good evening, CAC members. Wade Reynolds, TPO staff. I am here to present two amendments to you for the Access 2050 Long Range Transportation Plan. The District 7 request is to add Branch Forks Road and McIntosh Road. It would widen both of these from 2 to 4 lanes from south of US 92 to north of I-4. These are both about a mile in length. You may remember Craig Fox presented the PD&E, I believe, to y'all last month. And so these were working their way through the PD&E process during the long range transportation plan. These are county roads, but FDOT did the PD&E on this for the county. The second request is from Florida's Turnpike Enterprise to add Veterans Expressway from Hillsborough Avenue to Waters/Anderson Road. That would add 2 lanes to that project or to that segment. And then work at 4 interchanges, Hillsborough and Anderson Road, which would be related to the earlier project.
Wait, it's not showing, can you click or?
It may just be lagging. I can see it on mine. Hold on, I'm sorry. There we go. The second one, or sorry, adding interchange modifications at Hillsborough, Anderson, Wilski, and Linehall. And thirdly, to update the right-of-way cost estimate for an existing widening project that is in the plan already from Van Dyke Road to the Pasco County line. That's an addition of $700,000 in right-of-way. We looked at the Tampa Bay Regional Planning Model. We ran it to determine the performance. We did run Branch Forks and McIntosh as a pair because they sort of run that same parallel between, gosh, excuse me, let me try again.
Did link again?
It's There we go. It was, Branch Forks and McIntosh roads were number 26 out of 46 among all the long-range transportation plan projects. The Veterans Expressway widening was number 16 out of 46. Under the Turnpike Enterprises statewide projects, the Hillsborough to Waters widening was number 39 out of 52 statewide widening projects. And the interchange projects out of 147 were respectively number 18, number 37, number 40, and number 52 out of 147 projects total, 147 interchange projects total in the state. For the Turnpike Enterprise, we do not have to do cost balancing in the long-range transportation plan because they are self-funded through toll revenues. For the Branch Forks and McIntosh Road projects, funding must be made available by moving another project out of the long-range plan or putting it into the unfunded needs list is essentially what that will. So to add Branch Forks and McIntosh Roads, the design for which is about $7.7 million. TPO staff recommends reallocating PD&E funding for Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard. That is a widening that is in the plan from McIntosh Road to Turkey Creek Road and apply that to the PD/design funds for Branch Forks and McIntosh Roads. We looked at a number of other projects that might work. Talking to both our elected representatives and to FDOT, this one worked the best in the time bands. They were not ready to move forward with the PD&E for that segment of Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard, State Route 574. So this will not impact the current plans. Although if there should be some movement on that, we're certainly willing to see what we can do to accommodate. We did do a number of measures of public notice. 308 letters were sent to properties within 500 feet of these projects. I placed 12 signs out on the limits of each of these. And we ran 3 newspaper ads in the Tampa Bay Times, the La Gaceta, and Florida Sentinel Bulletin. So here we are, February 5th. We took this to the TAC on February 3rd, and it is scheduled to go to the board on February 12th. And just to go through the locations of these projects, on the left side, you can see at the County Line Road, the furthest north part, that is the project that will get an additional $700,000 for right-of-way. That's Van Dyke Road to the Pasco County line. And then the interchanges moving south from Wilski, Lineball, and then Anderson to Hillsborough is the widening project that includes those 2 interchanges along with it. On the right side of the screen here, these arrows point to McIntosh and Branch Forks roads. The yellow line at the top there is I-4 and the red line is US 92. I will note that some of the US 92 projects are not funded for construction through 2050. Only design is funded for the basically from the Polk County line to McIntosh, I believe. So the recommended action is to recommend that the TPO board approve the amendments, the Access 2050 Long Range Transportation Plan, which will add Branch Forks and McIntosh Road widenings from US 92 to I-4, Veterans Expressway widening from Hillsborough Avenue to Waters/Anderson Road, interchange modifications at on the Veterans Expressway at Hillsborough, Anderson, Lineball, and Wilski, and update the right-of-way phase cost estimate for the Veterans Expressway from Van Dyke Road to the Pasco County line, and balance the cost by moving State Road 574 MLK Boulevard widening from McIntosh to Turkey Creek to the unfunded non-SIS needs as identified in the staff analysis. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
I have just a question.
Yes, sir.
I don't know if everybody will be able to navigate that or not, but just a suggestion. As I'm looking at that, that's a lot to chew on for one motion.
Yes, sir.
And I'm just wondering if it might have been broken out into smaller pieces or individual motions. And That's just a thought. I don't know how the motion practice is actually going to play out here in the room.
Yes, sir.
But just a thought that that slide shows a horse. I do have a question though. The right of way
Yes.
change, the number that sticks in my head is $700,000. Was that an aggregate number or was that for one of the projects?
That is for the existing widening project from Van Dyke Road up to the Pasco County line. That is already in the long-range transportation plan. But it is a small increase based on the overall size of that project.
Okay, so it's a $700,000 addition
Yes,
for right of way acquisition
that's correct.
by the property.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And when was the original price point fixed?
Mr. Fine, do you have an answer to that?
Kelsey Fine with the Florida Truck Bike Enterprise. So that right of way funding that's being added to this project, that's new funding that's being added. So it's introducing a new phase. That's why it's part of this letter. So that right of way funding was actually, we determined that that was going to be part of our work program during the tentative work program development cycle. Last time I was here, I presented the tentative work program, and it was part of that green document that I was showing you guys.
Okay. This is extremely simplistic because I'm a pretty simplistic guy. Just trying to understand. What I'm hearing is eggs cost so many dollars last month, and they cost those dollars plus this month, and we're asking for you to add more money to affect the delta so that we don't have that delta anymore. I'm trying to understand what the original price of eggs was established.
The right of way amount.
Yes, yeah, right away eggs, you can substitute whatever you want. I'm metaphorical here, but yes.
Yeah, so that funding amount was designated $700,000 during the tentative work program development cycle, which was November of 2024.
Okay, November 2024 is when it was established that you were going to need an additional $700,000?
Yeah, because that's when our tentative work program was developed.
Okay, again, I'm just trying to understand what the original price was established. You're adding $700,000 onto something. What was, the something is minus $700,000, right? I'm trying to understand when that was reached.
So all that funding was part of the LRTP development that you guys did last year. All those numbers of PD&E design before right away, those were introduced as information that we sent to the MPO to develop their LRTP.
Okay, well, the LRTP was approved in October of 2024.
Yes, but the cost feasible was in the middle of last year.
Okay, well, I'm more confused when I started asking the question. Go ahead. Anybody have, Stephen?
Yeah, 2 points on the Plant City thing. One, just a compliment to Sarah, and the second one is the Plant City perspective, which I think you guys might find interesting. But Sarah reached out to let me know about the Plant City stuff, which was, I think, just very thoughtful and considerate, and it allowed me to process everything beforehand and not have spent 10 minutes to asking questions, then spending 10 minutes praising Sarah for that kindness. Second, I like this project, and I want to tell you guys why. Can you go back to the map slide? This one? This one, yeah. So this is the project. This is the road that was going to get PE funding to be widened.
Yes.
This road goes right into downtown Plant City, which is roads that cannot be widened because there's buildings in the way. So widening this road creates a bottleneck in the downtown. So it makes sense to not spend money to maybe widen this because Plant City's not for probably having the impact to our downtown. And instead spending this money for the PE for this and for the PE for these two little blue squiggles. But I texted with our mayor about it. He kind of explained the Plant City side and like it makes sense. And so I just want to say I support the project and it feels like this. I'm happy this was just dealt with before the money was spent. So this is like the way it should work. So yeah, that's it. Thanks.
Okay, I see a lot of hands in the room. Chris?
A couple months ago, we had two guys come and present on the McIntosh Road and Grange Forks Road. Yes, but it was like sidewalk, pedestrian improvements, right away, I think water drainage. Is that also included? Because this just says lane.
Yes, sir. This is the long-range transportation plan consistency with what you saw from those folks. So that is the project as it is designed. You're correct with, I believe, 10-foot side paths on either side, the drainage improvements, 4 lanes of roadway. This gets it into the long-range plan so it can continue to move forward into design.
Okay, so all that other stuff is included?
Yes, sir. Oh, that's correct.
Cliff?
To follow up on Stephen's point, I'm very familiar with that area. There's a lot of construction going on right at that Branch Forbes and Beauchamp Road area. Several large facilities. I'm not quite sure what they are, but I think it's going to be a significant traffic increase. So the road widening is very appropriate. A concern that mailings to residents within 500 feet does not include the developments that are further down Beauchamp Road that are going to be affected by the increased traffic. And in particular, they're very concerned about having a traffic light there because otherwise they can't get across what will now go from the 2 to a 4-lane road. It'd be nice to have, consistent with our other questions earlier, a little bit more detail about what the design entails. But all that being said, yes, I'm in favor of it because it's necessary. Thank you.
Ed?
Yeah, I had the unfortunate experience of having my GPS on the way back from Orlando after Halloween or after Mill, directing me off to 92 because after all, the GPS recognizes congestion. It doesn't recognize flooded roads. We ended up on 92 and we could not get back to I-4 for miles and miles and miles because of the drainage issues. I mean, there was 2 feet of water most places there. So I think those are really needed as long as they address the drainage issues.
Any other questions in the room? Justin?
I just got a comment that I appreciate Stephen's comments regarding this and a recommendation moving forward would be information like that in these proposals to help make a sound decision, because prior to his comments, I was looking at what is the traffic volume through there. I've been through downtown Plant City and I know what he's talking about. It shrinks down to, 2 lanes that probably can never widen whatsoever with everything that's there as far as building wise. So that statement that he provided eradicated where I was pointing to, because now it made lots of sense. But if he hadn't been here and made those comments, you'd still be having people sitting in jeopardy in essence, trying to figure out, well, should I approve or deny this? And like I said, I think that's a recommendation moving forward. Information like that would help us to make us a better sound decision. Now, I would like to say, going back to what Mr. Citro Joseph talked about on the last project, is there any way that we can get these schedules moved up a little bit earlier than when they're being offered to us as a proposal? Because I think these are now going to the TPO meeting next week. And so if we were to say, hey, let's deny all these projects, he brought up an example of, well, what's that going to do? The TPO takes our recommendation. I mean, it's.
So, sometimes our staff does have the ability to take things to you sooner. Recognize that if we do that, then your question would be an item twice on your agenda. So that just balances with you might be less other things, which we know we have a long list of member request items, but it is with DEC. We would like to see things sooner. And when we have that information, we don't always have it with enough time to give it to you an extra month or 2 in advance, because we have the meeting today. We get your feedback, we try to get you an answer, and then get it with enough time to get it in your next agenda copy. We can look into doing that as much as possible. If the CC is comfortable with that, knowing that you'll see agenda items more than once, and you'll have less time for other items. Potentially. That's not always available to us as an option, but when it is, we can certainly see what we can do about that.
Thank you. Thank you, Dustin. Yeah,
Just a question, I think, great presentation, I definitely support the project. But I just want to know, so like this time is going to be LSB amendment, and are you coming back for a TIP amendment? The next meeting, or like?
No, but I do believe it will be in the tip, coming this May/June.
So it's coming up, okay.
Is there anything online?
Chris has his hand raised.
Chris Bella? Recognize?
Yes, thank you, Chair. I just got a quick question for you, Chair. This is also including the Veterans 589 project, right? This discussion in question?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I'm just a little bit lost because like you, Chair, I just feel like this is too packed up to make one decision. But I do want to ask the TPO staff that, is it possible that you can include Craig Pittman's article in regards to the Suncoast Parkway revenue as part of communication to the board? It's also cited in Wikipedia where the revenue was estimated to be 150 million on the Tampa side annually, but the actual revenue was only 22 million. And that went on for several years. And I think it's very important that when we discuss about highway widening, we need to look at the history if it really made a profit or not. In the case of the Suncoast project, it didn't. And then number two, my other question is to the staff, is that even though this is a non-SIS road, it does physically connect to an SIS road system. In fact, it actually is all regulated by toll agencies. So the veterans, as you know, some parts is actually double toll. So there's an express lane toll and then there's a flat toll to use it. And then you have the new toll lanes that are coming from the Pinellas side that's going to be linking to the Suncoast Parkway. So even though physically it's not a non-SIS road, has there been any, I guess, studies on the impacts of how the SIS traffic might impact the non-SIS road, which is a veterans, and then further, is there any discussion of the cost impacts to the citizens using that road? Because I think that information needs to be transmitted to the board so the public is aware that we're widening a system to really tax a lot of drivers using this. And it's a system that historically has not had any returns whatsoever back to Hillsborough County to pay itself off. So that's my long list of questions. Thank you.
I have no idea how you will address that, but if you have a shot, go ahead.
The Veterans Expressway is on the strategic intermodal system. It is part of the strategic intermodal system. It is SIS. The other two projects, McIntosh and Branch Forks, which are county roads, are non-SIS. So just to get that straightened out. I am not familiar with any Pinellas toll lanes that will be coming in to hook up with this that you mentioned. I do recall previous articles talking about the toll collections performed less than they had anticipated in the earlier stages of the Veterans and Suncoast. I'm not sure that that's relevant to these projects, but I do understand your point with that.
Any other questions online?
Anyone else online?
Okay, I don't see any other hands up in the room. Could we get the ask slide?
Yes.
Up again.
Sorry, let me try.
Okay, you have a recommended action being projected on the walls around the room. I'll ask please that the slide as presented be incorporated by reference. I'm not inclined to read that thing from beginning to end. Is there a motion? Is there an enabling motion on recommended action? AASC?
Yeah, motion to approve as recommended.
Is there a second? First, Stephen Hollenkamp seconds. Is there any further discussion in the room? Is there any discussion online?
Online. No discussion online.
Okay, Gail, would you please call the roll on the motion?
Rick Fernandez,
Yes?
Stephen Hollenkamp,
Yes.
Dana Lazarus,
Yes.
Joseph Citro,
Yes.
Aya Yassin,
Yes.
Ed Mrzewski,
Yes.
Michael Carter,
Yes.
Chris Gonzalez,
Yes.
Dustin Johnson,
Yes.
Evia Adams,
Yes.
Clifford Reese.
Yes.
The motion passes 11-0.
Thank you all for your time today.
Wait, thank you. All right, that takes us to status reports. And before we go there, I understand that school board member Gray has joined us. Is she still with us?
Yes, here I am. Yeah, I'm undercover right now. I'm here.
Well, welcome.
Yeah,
Appreciate you taking the time to join us. I introduced you in absentia at the beginning of the meeting as the District 7 representative on the Hillsborough County School Board. That's an at-large countywide position. Happy to have you join the TPO board, and thank you for taking time to visit with us. Is there anything you would care to share for the good of the order?
Well, no, I'm just happy to be here. Very excited about what I took a bunch of notes. In fact, I think what I'll do is drive over every one of these projects and just take a look-see. But yeah, I'm definitely very excited to be part of it. And thank you, Rick, for leading the charge and all of your participants.
All right, well, thank you, and I hope you won't make this a one-time affair. Please feel free to drop in on us anytime. It's great to have this interaction with the board. Okay, so we are at status reports. This is the streetcar extension update. Brandon Campbell, City of Tampa.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for inviting me to give you an update on our progress on the streetcar extension. Again, Brandon Campbell, City of Tampa. I'm the Director of Transportation Services. So to talk about where we are now, I think it's helpful to review some of the past with respect to the streetcar. I know that many of you probably know everything I'm about to say already, but it's a good thing to go back over it, particularly for some of you who may be new to this discussion. So I'll go back to a 2012 study, which you may have heard about, called the Tampa City Center Plan. It really looked at the urban core of Tampa and had several recommendations, one of which was to look at the existing streetcar line as it stood at that time, which is actually the same tracks that are there right now. At the time, it called out that the existing streetcar was often considered more a tourist attraction as opposed to a viable local transit option. And so that caught people's attention as an opportunity, particularly as the growth through the urban core and north into the neighborhoods provides additional potential users for a streetcar extension. So that envisioned city central plan recognized that need to extend the streetcar operations. Still working with this lag, but subsequent to that 2012 study, there were a couple of additional studies in 2014, one of which was undertaken by HART. It was the Tampa Historic Streetcar Extension Study, and the name is pretty descriptive of what it actually was taking a look at. And then the other was funded by the MPO in partnership with the Downtown Partnership, called Transit Assets and Opportunities Study. Let's see. Okay, good. I had a picture of both of those covers, but it's not important necessarily to see them. So both of those, again, reiterated that potential to extend the streetcar to the north. So at the time, at the time that those studies were published, there were 2 phases of the streetcar system that had been built. You may already know, phase 1 was from Ybor to what is now the Dick Greco Plaza, there in front of the Tampa Convention Center. And there was a second project that extended that to the Fort Brook Garage at the intersection of Franklin and Whiting. So those were built on two separate projects, the first in 2002 and the second in 2010. Also in that 2015 timeframe, also contemplated as we pursued an additional study for the potential extension and packaging the actual project development. At the time, and again, still as is the current case, it was a heritage system. Basically, it's a replica of a historic streetcar. Those are not as old as they look. They're built to resemble what was in place for decades and decades throughout history. With the one caveat, the one exception that Hart does own a historic streetcar called the Bernie that they take out on occasion. So we were looking within the 2015-2016 plan. We were looking in that 2015 plan and the study that was undertaken then. And first, that was, I believe that was the first time that we were contemplating funding an extension through the Federal Transit Administration's Capital Investments Grant Program. You can see on the graphic in front of you, that's a sort of bifurcated grants program. The one that applied then and still applies for our next phase is called the Small Starts Program. It has a threshold of, or a cap, I should say, of $150 million of federal funding before it bumps you up into a more the larger version of the program, which is the New Starts process or program. I mentioned it's a historic replica. During that 2015 study, the scope also looked at the potential to modernize the streetcar. If you don't know, a modern streetcar versus a historic or replica streetcar does have some advantages, including capacity. They tend to be longer and larger, have higher passenger capacities. They have level boarding, so the high block loading spaces that we've got at the stations on the existing line would not be necessary under a modern streetcar. And then they looked also at potential alignments. The graphics on this are pretty small, but I did want to call out that I think the initial visioning process, those alignments that were looked at did not go north of the interstate. So I think that's kind of an interesting departure from then to the actual publication of that study and to what we're looking at now. So they looked at various alignments. In particular, a connection in some meaningful way to Marion Transit Center was investigated for the locally preferred alternative. The results of that study identified the alignment shown in the slide. What we're looking at right now is roughly the same as what was put forth in 2016. Some of the information in this slide is a bit stale because it was put together during that time frame. And maybe I shouldn't say stale so much as it has actualized. So it mentions $6 billion of planned investment, but if you look at the graphic itself, Water Street is still fairly barren when the picture was taken. So a lot of what we had predicted in that time frame has proven true, which is a good validation for our purposes. It connects our 4 or 5, depending on how you want to define them, major activity centers between Ybor and Tampa Heights. Again, what you're seeing on the graphic shows the Ybor and Gasworks area, the Water Street Channelside area, the densest part of the urban core, and then the blue circle at the top is Tampa Heights. If you look a little more granularly, there, I believe, are 9 defined neighborhoods within these areas that are primary user bases of the streetcar and its extension. So again, also that initial study recommended modernizing the streetcar. And so based on that study, we had a timeline that was all lined up. And if you look at it, it looks like we should have started revenue service a little over a year ago. And if you look out at the field level reality, that is not the case. So we were looking at April 2018, we had requested FDA approval to enter into the project development phase of that capital investment grants program. But we had a little bit of a roadblock in that November 2018, just after that, we anticipated and then saw the 1% surtax passed. And at some point, I don't even know, I didn't put the date down, I'm not sure what the date was. The lawsuit against that surtax was filed. During the interim between the filing that suit and the actual disposition of the case, we still had some optimism that there may be a possibility to tap into that funding for the local match of the capital investment grant. And then again, still on that theme of kind of holding on to hope, in November 2022, as you all probably recall, we had the replacement surtax that again would have filled that need, and it failed by a narrow margin. So where does that leave us? There's a lot of really tiny type here, but this is our request for qualifications that we published this past fall for streetcar extension project development. You might take note that it says extension. It does not say extension and modernization. As a measure of budgetary management, as a strategy for budgetary management, at this point, the costs that have risen through the pandemic to now have really put us out of even what we could have qualified for within the Small Starts program if we were to couple this with the streetcar modernization. So at this point, we're looking at an extension only, and we put out this request for qualifications for consultants to submit their qualifications and to select for project development. We have $5 million that have been set aside by the downtown CRA to fund this effort. We have other potential sources should the project development scope and fee push us a little over that 5 million threshold. But called out from this RFQ, I did want to point out that it says that we were soliciting stakeholder coordination, NEPA evaluation, and preliminary design. What's not sort of detailed within that one-page solicitation is that we also anticipate that to necessitate the adoption of a locally preferred alternative, which then would come back to the TPO for adoption, for an amendment to codify that in the LRTP. A lot of direct coordination with the Federal Transit Administration, a sort of guidance with FDOT's revised the criteria that they had revised since that last look on lane assignments on Florida and Tampa, and then the assembly of a financial plan for the local match. So right now, and if you look at FDOT's work program, they have a $67 million set aside for a state match, which is roughly a quarter of what we anticipate to be the overall cost. There will be some sort of administrative procedures that will need to take place in order to ensure that FDOT still has that funding available for us when we're ready to use it. But we do have, as part of what we anticipate with this project development, we should have a financial plan that will likely, almost certainly, I'd say, involve some sort of debt mechanism, whether it's a TIFIA loan or a series of bonds that's funded by the CIT or something like that, public-private partnership. We don't know exactly where that's going to land, but it is part of the process in order to get the project ready for a ratings request from FTA. So we had those presentations. It's there's just a text box here. It actually says February 3rd. That was pushed to yesterday. So this is really hot off the presses that we had our consultant presentations. I mentioned before the initial due date for submittals was September. We had 2 submitters, so that had to be extended. At the end of that extension, we still just had the 2 submitters. But yesterday, those 2 consultant teams presented to us. And at this point, we have, as we have a committee that's the CCNA or Consultant Competitive Negotiation Act Committee, recommended to the mayor to enter scope and fee negotiations with one of those 2 firms. I will say, because it is an active negotiation, getting too much into the weeds of how that's going to play out is probably not advisable. But I will say that both of the submitters had specific and specialized streetcar experience. So we're really excited about how this is anticipated to play out. I expect the project development phase to last for about 2 years, and then they'll sort of brush up our expectations on a timeline. But if you relate that back to that timeline that said we'd be in service by last year, construction will be around 3 years or so. So with that, I will open to any questions you might have.
All right, questions in the room. Dana?
Thank you for this presentation. I will want your contact information so I can get more information as it goes. I will want to know who the consultant is that was chosen, and really I want to know the 2 consultants that applied.
Sure.
And also kind of like why only 2? Because there's a ton that do, well, I guess they have streetcar experience.
Yeah, it's a pretty specialized experience. I will say that speaks to the narrow pool. The 2 consultants that submitted were HDR and AECOM, and they each had some sub-consultants on the teams.
And so the preferred alignment, it goes up Franklin and loops around Tampa, is that correct?
No, it goes up to Florida. So
Okay.
Part of the PD process will codify the locally preferred alternative. I do not anticipate it to change dramatically from what was previously identified. But as it's pulled up, what was identified before was so the northbound streetcar coming out of the Greco Plaza would turn and contraflow on the north side of Roaring to Florida and then go up Florida, would then make a loop around Palm and then come down Tampa to Whiting, where it would then sort of jump back over to the existing Franklin stop. I expect, not too far. I do expect that there will be some discussion about whether Palm remains the preferred turnaround spot. But there's nothing, that'll be a process, and a process of identifying the most ideal location, and it's not going to deviate from that dramatically. It's not likely to go all the way up past Columbus, but I think there's 3 different side streets between Palm and Columbus that will likely be evaluated.
Sure. More questions or should I read?
Let me work around the road. Chris, Cliff.
By the way, I'm assuming, but of course recommending a few, although as experienced designers, I'm sure it's taken into account, but it'd be nice to know adjacent to 1 block, 2 block, 3 blocks away, all the types of restaurants, hotels, other establishments that would be used by potential streetcar riders to help substantiate what you're doing. Question, if you go with the current old design, for lack of a better word, can that be modernized without major changes, or are they incompatible?
Yeah, no, good question. So on the first point about facilities in the vicinity, that will go into the ridership projections that are a required part of the ratings request. I don't know how granular that will get in terms of identifying like the number of restaurants within a block and a half, or however that's defined. Our consultant experts will bring that to light for me. But the second part that you asked about, the potential to modernize, most likely the extension that's built will accommodate a modernized streetcar. The biggest impediment to the existing alignment accommodating a modernized car is a couple of places where the radius of the curve is too tight. So the way that I anticipate it playing out, and it may deviate from this a little bit, but the way I anticipate it playing out is that the extension will be built with a radius that would accommodate a potential future modernized streetcar. And then should we at some point down the road decide to modernize, we would have to reconstruct the curves on the current alignment such that they need to have a larger radius. And I think the tightest one of all of them is right next to the hockey arena, where it turns from Channel Side onto Water Street.
County curves, 1, 2, 8, 3 or 4.
Yeah, there's, I think there are 4 altogether that wouldn't, but that's the most glaring example.
Okay, anybody else on the left side of the room, right side of the room? Ed?
I just say, I mean, this just seems like such a great project. And question is probably too mature for you, too early for you to have an answer. But is there any chance that there's going to continue to be a small starts program at FTA?
So the Small Starts program was in place during the previous Trump administration, if that's what you're.
That's what I'm asking.
So, and I've not had any indication made to me that it would go away. Of course, that's subject to their wishes.
Any other questions here? Aya?
I have 2 questions. The first question is, when do you anticipate to give NTP to the team that was selected?
So it depends on how quickly and how many rounds of negotiation there are. I would say it would go to council hopefully within the next 90 days, with the asterisk being that, it could, sometimes negotiations are a little bit more protracted than that.
Okay, and the second question is, what did the city really do to get more bids or, proposals in that extension? Is it only, did you guys only extend the time, or did you guys change something or clarify the scope?
Good question. We did not change the scope. We extended it. I don't know whether our contract admin team went out for like any sort of promotion in over and above what is typical with their advertising channels. I don't, and that gets sort of outside of my area of expertise, the advertising part of it. I don't know what CCNA rules might bind them to, so they may be constrained in terms of how broadly they can advertise that art.
So how did the companies know about that financial plan deliverable as it wasn't written in the scope that was advertised?
So it is it's part of the overall project development process as defined by FTA.
Dana, I know you said you had another question, so before I go to the online, go ahead.
So hopefully Small Starts doesn't go away because public transit is partisan. Also, I feel like the city and the county and local governments be difficult to get consultants to apply because they have to apply to be part of a specific system. And so I know that there's challenges there. My question is about the 67 million and the potential match. Is there any, last I heard, there was talk of potentially getting more funds from the business improvement district somehow, like taxing residential, or I'm just wondering, are there, and I guess that would be part of the financial package development?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I can speak a little bit to that as well. There is a current special assessment along the existing tracks. There are some limitations to what types of properties are assessed. And so part of the development of the financial plan will likely involve looking at both the geographic boundaries and the limitations within the existing special assessment. So along the new alignment makes sense to, I should say, may make sense to extend the geographic boundaries of that spectral assessment. And then taking a look at, there's something about homesteaded properties being exempt from the existing spectral assessment. That may be considered as well, but those are the details that should come out of that financial plan preparation.
$5 billion from the CRA for.
It was for this. Thank you. For the project development.
Josefa, thank you for this presentation. This is something that I had pushed for 4 years ago, and hopefully it's going to come to fruition. This goes through 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different CRAs. Tampa Heights, downtown, Channel Side, YCDC, not YCDC, I'm sorry, Ybor City. Are all these CRAs going to be putting in any type of funds? Or is it just Channel Side downtown?
So if I remember correctly, the contribution for the project development is coming from the downtown CRA, whereas the other CRAs that the existing line goes through, I believe, contribute to the existing operation. So it's some of the load is shared between the different CRAs, but it's not applied in exactly the same way. If you'd like, I can try to get a little more granular detail on that.
Okay.
Sure. Okay.
And is the port finally going to kick in anything?
Well, maybe that will be uncovered within the financial plan.
And just a quick statement, our transportation partners at Downtown Partnership, Karen Crest has already started some halo effect with that, with the parking minimums up and down Campus Street, which lowers some of the cost of housing. And there was a development up across the street from the YMCA that said they were going to dedicate a station there on Palm Street. Is that still good?
That is still the case.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
Hey, Vivian?
I just have a question. Will there be any change to the cost because it's free now? So with all of these changes, and I know funding isn't posted on that, so what happens there?
So that's maybe a complicated question. So the operational plan and the finances for that operational plan for the extension will be part of the ratings request submittal for the CIG program. Whether that means that we end up collecting a fare, or maybe I should say that HART as the operator is collecting a fare, or if they continue to be the operator, if there's some sort of different operational scenario, will come out of that exercise. On the existing line, the process for imposing a fare is it goes through the Tampa Historic Streetcar Inc. And so far, between THS and the administration, there's really not much of an appetite for charging a fare for the existing operation, at least for the time being.
Okay. Any questions online?
Anyone online? I do have one else emailed to me in advance from Christina Costa. Christina asked, if I could pose this on her behalf, will the streetcar extension eliminate unprotected bike lanes on Tampa and Florida? And what is the status of developing Franklin Street as a neighborhood greenway? And I shared those with Brandon in case he.
Yes.
Not with an answer.
I saw them. I don't know if I have a great answer for either one of them. I don't know. I would anticipate the bike lanes might actually be impacted by the FDOT mobility project before we would get to them. But I don't, and to the extent that the streetcar extension may have an impact on that, that's more a function of design that would come in the sort of next round after project development. As to Franklin Street, I am gonna have to get with my team and maybe have Tim contact her directly, because I just don't have the answer for it.
Thank you. And I didn't see anyone online, but they're.
Okay, Chris?
Yes, in the design, is there gonna be any consideration to easily add like another addition, say to like the airport? Easily connected in the future?
So this is a bit speculative on my part, but the potential extensions beyond what's contemplated right now, there may be some design considerations so that there's like a connecting point, but there's right now we have what's called the Regional Infrastructure Accelerator. That's looking at several different transit options around the city, including the downtown to airport link. The potential for that to be an extension of the streetcar doesn't seem to me that high. Again, that's speculation on my part. We will see what that uncovers as a potential option. It could be that there's a rubber tire express route. It could be that there's a different light rail option. There just is not any certainty on it at this point. And again, that's pretty high level planning development for that's being undertaken by that Regional Infrastructure Accelerator. But the streetcar extension is also being contemplated by the Regional Infrastructure Accelerator for interactions with the other segments that they're looking at. So that's not a very specific answer, I know, but we are trying to coordinate those different efforts such that we don't, cut off an opportunity that we should be looking into.
I have just a quick question. I know we're running foul of our timeline. What is, using Word, what is the timeline for community input regarding the terminus or the extension? You mentioned Palm Avenue, the possibilities for extension beyond that in this iteration. So if we want to come to someone and have a discussion about Columbus, for instance, being the terminus, when would we do that?
So this project development effort that we're currently in scope and fee negotiation on will have, as part of that scope, a significant community involvement line item. How that's scheduled out is still uncertain. They haven't given us a full scope proposal at this point because of where we are. I mean, just had the presentations yesterday. I know they will be in there, but I can't give you specificity on the exact schedule of those.
Okay, we aren't missing any meetings right now. Right. Works. Okay, I'll keep on you about it. Thanks.
Sure.
That's it. Good. Brandon, thank you.
Thank you.
Very, very informative. Appreciate it. Okay, that takes us to unfinished and new business.
Yes, if you look happy, there is number of item 4 and poll. This is to follow up from our January meeting, and there are 2 polls for the CAC to take. Well, what is the poll and what is the form? So as you think of future topics, you don't have to wait for this meeting to share them. You can fill out the link in the agenda item. It is a form that asks you what the title is, what is the topic, how would you like the information delivered? And that will help us kind of hopefully get more information from you on a regular basis as we think of ideas. And then the second is a poll. We're asking you to complete it by February 26th if you would like. It has the 11 outstanding CAC member request items that we heard in 2024. And so we're asking you to prioritize those 11 items so we know how to best meet the CAC's needs. We anticipate that every 6 months or so, we'll try and see how it works. We'll take the ones from the form, or the ones that you share with me at the meeting, and we will send you a poll and say, okay, this is how we're doing. You have however many items outstanding. What are your priorities so that we're getting agenda items for you that meet your needs as a committee.
And where is the form is on your website?
They are both in your agenda packet.
Oh, okay.
I can send it out in an email.
Okay, okay.
Yeah. I'll do that in my box.
Okay. Our next CAC meeting is March the 5th, 6 p.m. And that takes us to member interest and future topic requests. Is there anything we need to address there beyond what you just said? All right, anything coming out of the room? Consideration today? Huge? No? About online?
Anyone online? Nope.
Okay, it is just short of 7:50, and unless you all have a objection, we can adjourn. Yeah?
Yeah.
Wow. Look at us. Got the big boy and big girl.
You made it early.
Huh? Yeah, I know, right?